Good evening, everybody. My name is the Cigar DM. Here shortly, I should be joined by Shadow and Sun. Maybe be able to wrap a few other people in. Um, Tonight we're going to be doing the day after. When I mean the day after, is what are you thinking the day after you have a campaign as a player or as a DM? Are you looking at all the notes you took from the night before and wondering what if I could have, should have, and all that as a player, or maybe as a DM. Maybe you pulled a punch where you shouldn't have. Maybe you should have not pulled a punch. And these are the things I want to talk about tonight because I think that, these are some of the topics that some DMs and players have. I had a game yesterday with Bruce. I have one tomorrow, and trust me, I throughout the next 20 to 48 hours, I'll be thinking about, okay, what should I have done differently? Then on Tuesday, I have a whole different game. So that's what we're going to be talking about. Here is Shadow, and let's
Happening, man.
talk about this. All right. I don't know if you caught that, but today is going to be the after effect from yesterday's campaign, or just the campaign in general. You being the
Awesome. That's what I was
you
hoping.
you being the DM or you being a player. I know you said it's been a while since you've been a player, so you've been mainly been the DM.
Yep. 30 years since I
30
last
years.
played. Since I last played. Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay. Wow.
And I kind of messed up I think I told the story how I took out that red dragon with one arrow.
Yeah, the whole Bard scenario from was it the Hobbit scenario with one arrow?
Yeah, Wyvern Venom, and the DM was none too pleased with that, and the campaign fell apart after that, and hadn't been invited to a game since then.
I'm sorry to hear that, brother.
It's okay. I've been, I, I, I like playing. Don't get me wrong, but I just fell into that mode of dungeon master, and I'd been dungeon mastering for 15 years prior to that. So, my buddy who was kind of just getting his feet wet as a dungeon master just wasn't ready for it, and you know,
I always slightly feel sorry for anyone who's willing to DM me because I have some of these ideas that are just kind of out there. I'm like, why can't I do this? The mechanics say I can,
right?
but but that's not where my story is going.
Yeah,
But the mechanics
I
are.
did notice your character seemed to be pretty, pretty much a badass yesterday.
I I have been playing Pathfinder since it's basically dropped. I know how to make a character that's somewhat functional. Only if
Yeah.
I can make the player somewhat functional. Um, so I want to ask. I mean, that's the next day after the campaign yesterday, and by no means am I throwing any shade at Bruce. Bruce throws a great game, but with
Sure
me,
does.
there's always the I shoulda, coulda scenario from the day before.
The,
Do
the
you?
only the only the only things, like I said during the game, if I knew I could have purchased a bag of holding, then I would have spent less money on, because I bought a second horse just to carry my gear, and that set me back, almost $1,000 because I got a medium war horse or a light war horse, and all the other gear for it and food and all that. I would have started with a little bit more money in my pocket, but with the weight of gold, I probably still would have needed a horse.
Yeah, the benefit of starting a new character in campaigns been going while you get a couple chests of loot that you have to work out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Other than that, I had a blast. It was a lot of fun. It was a great game. I, got to play a paladin, and I know, there are a lot of people out there who just don't like running paladins. It's hard. It's hard, and I'm proud of myself. I did everything I wanted to do. I realize I probably, maybe might have been able to do a little bit more damage in combat, but keeping people alive, I think, is a little
oh
more
yeah,
important. If we make it out alive, that's a win for me. Because I had no idea that Bruce would actually allow a resurrect, which in my games, no, not going to happen. Not without some serious, you know, earth-shaking consequences or necessity. If we were out to save the world, then I could see it. But at the same time, it's like I said, for my games, that's the most powerful magic in the book is bringing people back from the dead.
That's fair. I don't know. I allow players to do resurrect in my campaign, but if I said in this campaign, in this, with you around, I started in 3.5, so resurrects weren't, it's not something you saw every other week, but it was something that did happen once later levels happen. The
Yeah,
cleric,
and even then, it was usually always the NPCs that did it, not the players, because
yeah, you hire a
who runs
cleric.
a cleric, up to what 13th, 14th level to begin with. That's a tough thing to accomplish. Let's put it that way.
Oh, it's an expensive thing that, even if you have all the good dice rolls, if your DM makes you do the dice rolls to go along with it, you have to have the crushed diamond and whatever else it takes. It's an expensive thing to do.
Yeah, yeah, but I'm glad nobody died, and I'm glad I got to do what I did. I took out a big bad undead. That was cool. And as Bruce said, the Bruce's shielding that I walked away with is his second favorite or
Yeah,
most useful or
second
something
favorite. Yeah,
magical. Not really in my games, but if fireballs and magic missiles are being thrown around, I'm glad I got one.
yeah. I these are the things that break. I think about the next day is like, one of the players just took leadership defeat. And
Uh-huh.
I personally have railed against the concept of leadership. I don't really like it, but I do see the uses for it.
I don't know what the game effects are, other than Bruce saying something about getting a flunky or a follower or something.
You get a flunky. Yes, you get a flunky. I think it's like two. I might be wrong. So everybody in YouTube world, don't crucify me for this one. I think it's like two levels, but underneath you. So if you're eighth level, it will be 6. If you're 7, it would be 5. And in later campaigns, leadership in some scenarios, and I'm going to sound like a hypocrite. I really am. I don't like the feat. I don't like that it's a feat. I think it should be something that should be role played out.
Mm-hmm.
If
Yeah.
you could role
Well,
play it out, I don't have as much of a problem as you just looking at your DM and say, "Hey, I'm going to take this feat," with no precursor to trying to role play follows through. And this is nothing against anybody who takes that feat. It's just my opinion. So
does it
I'm
have
on
any
the
other effects besides the flunky or?
Well, it depends on how good your charisma is how many followers you can get. I haven't looked at the feat for a while.
Because in the old days, you could buy henchmen. Buy. You could pay. Well, actually, I don't even know if you bought them. You just had to, pay for their upkeep. And at a certain level, depending on your profession, you got a bunch of followers that were, you know, totally loyal to you, unless start sacrificing them or something. And
I don't know very many followers that'll stick around for that nonsense.
well, if you're a I think it was like a ninth level fighter and you build a castle or a keep, then a small army comes to your door saying, you know, we're here to serve. If you're a ranger, you get like 2d12 worth of all kinds of cool animals and people, possibly even a giant as a newfound friend. And it all depends on the profession. And
Wow.
yeah, I think you can. I want to say you can get a dragon. I think you might even be able to get a copper dragon or something as a ranger. But you gotta get to like ninth or 10th or 11th level ranger for that to happen. Thieves, they start a guild. They get I think 4 to 24 thieves of up to 7th level. led by a 7th leveler, and you get some other lower level guys. But you know, again, it's something that a lot of players never get to. Even if they get to 9th or 10th level, they don't necessarily start a guild. They just want to be the lone thief, so to speak.
Yeah.
Dinner, huh?
What?
Dinner?
Yeah, I tried to make something here and it didn't work out well, so I said fuck it and I just ordered out. Plus, I like my way I have this kind of set up because I have my computer here, I got my TV behind here, and my front door is right here. So whenever I have food delivered and I'm in the middle of something, I could just open the door and reach out and grab and pull it in.
I saw that. That's pretty slick, man.
Yeah, it is tiresome to be as lazy as I can be. But yeah, having a copper dragon or anything would be really cool. But as I was saying, I'm thinking about taking leadership and maybe build a wizard companion so he can be at the whatever fort we're doing most of our business out and making the party magical items, because I think we're going to need that.
Yeah, I this is my first time with Pathfinder. Period. I never thought about it. Never, gave it a second thought. Never thought of, just wanted to, stick to Palladium and AD&D. But, these characters are, in comparison to AD&D, I noticed there's a whole lot of stuff you can do really, really early on in comparison. It's really weird. Let's just put it that way.
Oh no, cool. and I get that. Even from stepping up from 3.5 to Pathfinder, which wasn't much of a step, But
right. They're very similar, or they're meant to be almost the same game because they went, WotC went to another, way to bilk the consumers out of money, and not a fan of that at all.
I have two different thought processes on it, which I disagree sometimes with you and Bruce and everybody else. But, that's just how friends are. We disagree with each other. It doesn't change anything.
Yeah.
But when Pathfinder came out, I first looked at it, I'm like, wow, this is just too powerful. I mean, where's this is taking, the whole line from, was it Armstrong? This is one single step for mankind, small step for mankind, one huge step for mankind. But from a gaming point of view, that's how I saw it, because the power scale in Pathfinder went from like 1 to 60 in maybe 5 levels, where in 3.5 at least took you 10. In my opinion, the way I build my characters, maybe 10 to 15 levels to get something actually going, where you're not just going to get stepped on. But that's just the way I build characters. So I thought Pathfinder was, just, shoving nitro in your car and pushing go. If that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, I don't know what 3.5 is like either, but I can imagine.
Well, second edition, this must be like sticking a rocket to your car and pushing go.
Oh yeah. It's very different. I mean, like my Paladin, for example, I've got, all they got was lay on hands, plus on their saving throw, ability to turn undead, some cleric spells way, way higher up in level, and I think maybe cure disease on touch or something maybe later, but I don't think so. But I can shoot rays of healing. I can do lay on hands, 7 half dozen or whatever times a day. I can, I don't have the turn undead, but I don't know if clerics even get that in this game.
Oh yeah, well, a variation of it, I'm sure.
And spells earlier on, better saving throws, and of course the magic warhorse at 4th level, and then there's a whole bunch of other stuff that comes later on for the Paladin that, I'm only 7th level. I got a ways to go before I get any of those other big bonuses, but they exist. In the old days, no. That's it. You pretty much don't change except a little bit better in combat and a little bit better chances to turn undead until you're ninth, 10th level, and then you can start casting spells, and you get, like at ninth level, you get a first level cleric spell plus your wisdom bonus. And here you actually get your bonus because of your charisma. And since I took an 18 charisma, that's a big help.
Oh yeah, that's a +4 modifier plus a level,
all kinds of stuff. The extra
this,
spells,
yeah.
even being able, like, for example, the wisdom bonus. I can actually cast a second level spell because of my charisma bonus, whereas in AD&D you had to get to that level to be able to cast the spell, like a second level spell, and then you would get your bonuses on top of that. Not because I get bonuses, and I get the bonuses before I actually get the first spell. That's big. Fortunately, I didn't really have to use any of the spells because I'm still trying to learn all those
Oh
on the
yeah.
paladin list. But I still want to have Bruce go over my character to make sure I didn't miss anything or do anything wrong. But like the skills alone, I was like, that's a lot of stuff I can do that I probably wouldn't be able to do as a paladin. You'd be lucky to get half that. Not even half that.
It's
I'll go with like 10% of the skills I have.
It's funny where 3.5, I don't know about 3.0, but 3.5 had skills, a lot of skills, and Pathfinder had a lot of skills. And I heard people say in earlier editions, you had a few skills, but it wasn't, the grocery list that it is in Pathfinder.
Not even close. You'd get one skill in AD&D before the skill books, the Wilderness and Dungeoneer survival guides came out, and then they gave you like, if you're lucky at first level, you'd have 2 or 3 new skills, and then every 3, 4, 5, or 6 levels, you get one more either skill or skill point, and that's it. Right now, I have more skills than a 12th level paladin, and skills that are just monumentally powerful. What I can do with like spellcraft or survival and all these other skills, because I took survival, I took all the almost all the class skills and almost none of the knowledge skills except spellcraft, because I didn't know what my birth was, if I'm nobility or if I'm an orphan, and I didn't take the one on religion because I don't know what religion I actually technically am.
I mean, he's doing the Pathfinder engine through a whole different, system as story one, which I can't, work. So I like it. Don't get me wrong. I like normal Pathfinder for what it was back 10 to 5 years ago. Now it's second edition. I need to actually take a look at it.
I'm like right there with Max. I looked at it, found more reasons to dislike it than like it instantly. With the pronouns and it's a time-honored tradition since the 70s, and maybe even before, not necessarily in role-playing games obviously, but in stories and books and the comic book, and they're just trying to please as many people as they can without pleasing the original fans. It's like they're just waiting for us guys like me to die off, and then they won't ever have to worry about thanking anybody ever for the game that they're involved with, and that's just a shame.
It is, and it's not that I disagree with what you said. I guess maybe it's because I'm younger. I don't know. I just kind of I see it from a different point of view. I see it. I don't care what the pronouns and all that. That's not the argument that's not the hill for me. For me, this is not the hill I'm going to die
No,
on.
it's not really so much the pronouns as the pronouns are indicative of a whole other can of worms that goes along with it. And
this is a game that we like to play. This is a game that me and my friends like to play. I don't care what the book has to say, as long as me and my friends, me and you, for example, could agree on the rules as written. I'm not talking about he, she, or whatever. I'm talking about the rules of the game. Take those from 5e, take those from Pathfinder, take those from 2nd edition, whatever. Have a DM that's willing to make a world, design a world for us to play in. Then 98% of all the arguments are just done because, yes, we're using. Yes, this is in my head. Let's say 50% of most of the arguments are just done. I'll go down to 50 because now we don't have to worry about what the massive McDonald's of D&D, mass role-playing companies have to say.
Yeah,
because we're doing our own thing. Anybody out there can make a hamburger or a hot dog or whatever. You just have to
how it's done.
Right. And if you're willing to look at the book, I'm not trying to sound preachy. This is how my head works. If you're willing to look at the book and say, okay, me and my group of friends can agree upon these rules to play this game, then screw everything else.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's a shame, though, because there are so many games now. So many. And it would be better if these people involved would make more world books or whatever you want to call them, scenarios, adventures, as opposed to constantly rewriting the rules, because they see that as a bigger meal ticket than the adventures. And it's probably easier to write a big fat 400 500 page rule book than it is to write a good 50-page adventure.
Well, one takes creativity, and another one can somewhat be a little bit of a copy and paste. What did we like from here? What do we like from here? What do we like from here?
And other games. Because, my collection of games is pretty, it's not the biggest collection, but it's pretty extensive. And, and this was happening even way before Wizards of the Coast existed. There were multiple incarnations of other games that I like that they just would rather make a new version of the game and start all over thinking that they fixed everything when, they could, like the Unearthed Arcana. That was one of the first big, attempts to fix without rewriting. Let's put a whole bunch of stuff in here that changes things, gives you, rule clarification or errata, fixes and patches, as opposed to let's just start from scratch and charge everybody another $50 and basically throw all their old books in the landfill, which,
I absolutely hate that. I am right there with you. I absolutely hate that aspect.
It's just a big shame. And, there's a reason why the older books are actually worth more money than for example, a 4th edition. Or, I mean, 5th edition still cover price, but it's not going up unless you buy it from Amazon, of course. Then it's cover price.
I found that 5e is actually cheaper than what Pathfinder originally was. I don't know what the marketing plan was, but I'm not going to argue over a cheaper book.
Absolutely. At first I wasn't, interested in picking up other editions, but now with the channel growing and needing to be able to communicate with other people, not just give out my opinion, it really, for example, reading the online document of Pathfinder, it really helped me understand a lot of things so that I can, have discussions instead of saying, I don't know anything about it. I don't know. Well, now I know a little more. And, as much as I like, Pathfinder, I'm still going to try to run AD&D games because there's people out there that want something simpler and harder. Believe it or not, the older versions, were really, really tough. I mean, I was going to tell this story. I'll probably tell it again later. But I've had 2 games. I was in 2 games a long time ago. One time I lost 4 high level characters. I lost a character, brought in a new one, lost it in one afternoon. And some of these characters were double digits and they died. So I lost 4 great characters that I'd been playing for months and months and months, maybe even a year on one of them. My Bard, who was the old school Bard where you go to fighter, then you go to thief, then you become Bard. Okay. And I was in another game. Yeah.
They don't.
And the funny thing, the only cool thing about it was my Bard was the last character to die, and he got turned into an undead Bard that roamed the countryside. So I got to use that as an NPC in some games because I probably would have never thought of that otherwise. Then I had another game where I played a first level campaign. I was new to the group. I made up 4 different clerics, and they all died. One, then the next one, then the next one, then the next one, then the next one. And because they said we need a cleric because to heal. I couldn't keep anybody alive, let alone myself, at first level.
Right.
And just boom, dead, boom, dead, boom, dead. 4 characters, and needless to say, I didn't go back to that group because it's like, this is ridiculous, and I wasn't the only one dying that day. It
Right.
wasn't, oh, here's the new guy. Let's mess with him and see if we can take it. No.
That's one thing when you're just outright like, yeah, that's crazy.
It was the way the game was, though. People died. People died a lot, and you just made a new character. But it only took you about 5 minutes to make a character.
Oh yeah. I wish I could say Pathfinder is that fast, but it's not, especially if you're new at it.
I was working on that character every day for about an hour, maybe an hour and a half every day for 5 to 7 days. And I still had some stuff I didn't know I wasn't 100% on when we started.
Like I said, I've been playing it since it dropped. And even if I'm using nothing but the core book, it really depends on what level we're starting. Although I cheat. I have a thing on my iPad called Hero Labs. Not Hero Labs. Is it Hero Labs? Yeah.
I think that's what you said. As a matter of fact, I'm going to write that down because
don't let Bruce.
Is it an app or is it just a place to go?
It's a place to go. You pay money. You pay $40 for the license for the original setup. Then you pay $10 per book. Now, with a lot of people, it's like, I'm not going to rebuy my books, and I get that. It was a gift that was given to me to begin with.
Okay.
Because I suck at math and other things, learning disability, and I would just buy books for $10. Every so often, I'll buy a new book for it, so I could build any character I want. It's stored on my iPad on the site, and it does all the math for me, everything I need it to do. And so when I'm playing with Bruce or whoever, and we're doing traditional Pathfinder, I can whip out character, and no one can say, "Are you sure your math is right?"
Mm-hmm.
Are you sure that you did this right? I'm like, yes. Check it out. It's a ADD a safety blanket. That's really what it is. For those who can't do math, and I use it. I use it all the time. I don't mind giving them the money to do it because they're helping me out.
If it works, it works.
Right.
Your character seemed. I'm not going to say you were stealing the show, but pretty close.
Well, I play archers. That's kind of what my bag is in real life. I like to play with bows. I have a few friends.
My son and I both, love archery. I got him a bow. I think it was not last Christmas, but the one before was a little bear.
Yeah.
Like 20, 25 pounds. And he was out there every day just shooting away. He's got a BB gun and a 22, but this is something he could use in the backyard and not break a window, so to speak.
I don't want to say that, and I'm not going to say that any person can use a gun because that's not true. Because guns do take a training to use to shoot properly and whatnot. But I find archery to be just more of a challenge. because there's a lot of stuff to it that is not just breathe in and squeeze the trigger. And I'm
Well,
not
no, but
trying to be
I
mean.
think a good portion of marksmanship with handguns or rifles is not just the shooting, but before the shooting and after the shooting is a big chunk. Not necessarily as big or smaller, but it's a big chunk of information and dedication. You got to clean that thing. You
Oh
gotta
yeah,
you
yeah,
gotta
yeah.
take care of it with a bow. You unstring it, put it in the case. You're done.
Well, yeah, Wax. This is for a whole different. This could be a whole different podcast. Maintaining your tools of war or hunting, brought to you by Cigar DM and Friend. It'd be a whole different podcast. But yeah, no. But like I said, I normally play archers or something very close to it in most of my campaigns. I will do the straight up fighter every so often. If I'm new to a campaign that's already going, I will fit a hole.
Sure.
Oh, you guys need more upfront melee? Well, I'll be a martial character. If you guys need range, I'll be range. Just don't make me play a wizard. Don't make me play a wizard, because I don't want to do the paperwork. And
I really like Wizards, but it's going to be a long time before I play one in anything other than AD&D.
right, and I get that. I get that. I'll do a druid every so often, but I really just like my archer, and or I'll do a variation of it where I throw things. I great swords, great axes, weapons of all kinds. I'll take a feat that will let me throw them. I will put,
I
I've
saw
been
that.
joking, I've been joking about wrapping cords around some of the hilts so I can pull it back. So after I throw, I don't have to run over there and pick it up really quick, hoping the guy's dead. I don't know, but
That's another thing I noticed. The critters we fought were pretty tough.
that's
Even the humans or whatever, the bandits, what have you, they were pretty tough. That was like playing Palladium in a way where everything's got levels, and there's no such thing as a one hit die monster. Everything's got levels.
Yeah, that's Bruce for you. He does level up his monsters accordingly, which I highly appreciate. Um, Pathfinder, well, that Pathfinder monsters are just a little bit more beefier than like what the monster manuals and other editions were also too.
Oh yeah, orcs in traditional AD&D had a D8 hit points. That's it. Unless they
Um,
were unless they were, you know, the 1 in 100, 1 in a couple 100 leader, they could go up higher, they could be higher level. You could run across a 7th level orc, I think, or a 5 hit die orc. But it was, that was after you went through like a couple hundred.
yeah, I'm actually pulling up what the works hit points isn't just in base Pathfinder.
Yeah, I wanted to not look into the monster section of the book before we started playing, just because, I not that
It's kind
seen it.
of, yeah, I understand that. It's kind of uncool for the DM to do
Yeah,
to the
well, it
DM.
wouldn't change anything. I'm still going to run in there, and if I die, I die because I'm running a paladin. But I didn't want to, you know, go in with any preconceived notions. A threat's a threat. I'm a paladin. I'm going to take it out. If I can't, then I'll die trying. It's just having fought the things that we fought, I can only imagine how many hundreds of hit points actual giants are going to have.
Yeah, I'm expecting that to be a fight all the way across. Actually,
That's why we need Kai.
yeah, we need Kai and the other Travis to show up to help us out because it's going to be, it's going to be an uphill fight. But I noticed like in Pathfinder, like I said, Pathfinder, the monsters are just a little bit more meatier than in 3.5. And there are, even when you jump over to 5e monsters, Pathfinder still has the more meatier of the two systems, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. It just means I get to hit you that much more.
Let's get at it.
But as playing from Pathfinder on well, with you, with playing from second edition and being a DM for 30 years, and switching into a new system. That's really cool. I think that's really cool of you because I know a lot of people get set in their ways, and you know,
Yeah, well, I want to play. I want to DM, of course, and I could always call in, a lot of my old friends, now that, COVID's kind of you know, no longer in our hair everywhere. Because that was a biggie, for us. That's why we started the channel. We were sitting around with nothing to do, and the little guy was home all day, every day, and nothing was changing for months on end. Not being able to go outside and play, not having other people to play with, not being able to use his imagination. School was a joke. I mean, he got an A in PE on online classes.
how do you get an A in PE and
But yet
okay?
he was failing classes that the previous year he was, damn near, 4 out of 5 A's and a B, C, or a D maybe. There was one class he wasn't doing great in, and then online rolled around and he was getting straight D's. But he got an A in PE.
I mean, I normally
This year he's getting more A's and B's, and you
is
know,
he actually back in class? Is he back
oh yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
physical schools?
Almost this whole last year he was back in class.
Well, you live in California, and I never know what to think of California. No offense. I've been
Same here,
out there.
man.
I've been out there twice in my life. Once as a kid, and once as a young adult. And both times, it was you go to the tourist places, and you just stay out everywhere else. That's basically what you know.
Yeah,
What,
I definitely wouldn't even recommend the touristy places because you never know what you're going to get there. Knott's Berry Farm's not so bad. I would recommend that place, but and maybe
yeah,
Magic Mountain if you're into roller coasters. But the prices are insane, and maybe if you're taking your really really little ones, but I don't know.
my aunt asked me if I want to go to see Disneyland and go to out to California because my uncle, this is not about this is off gaming, but my uncle likes to surf. That was his thing. He's
They
like
too.
78 years old, and he still looks like he's in his 50s. He goes out where he live. They live down in Florida now. He goes out as much as he can and surfs, and that's always been his jam. He worked really hard in his profession. He got to retire where he wants. He got to travel when he wanted to. And I was lucky enough to be their nephew. So when he ever had one of those doctors' conventions out in California or wherever, my aunt would take me because she was a very sweet, nice lady. And that's how I got to not Florida, California, and Colorado, and a few other states. And I got to
That's
see them.
cool. That's cool.
So when I went out to California the first time, it was like in the late 80s. I think Neverending Story was just got released on VHS.
Hmm.
And so that was like forever. For my standard, that was forever ago. It feels like forever ago. And the second time I was a teenager, and it was just weird. Everything about California was just weird to me. Food was good.
It's weird to me. I've lived here most of my life, but I've traveled all over. I've hit up probably half of the states at one time or another,
Yeah.
and I can't wait to get out of here, man. I really can't.
I think I mean, I lived in Missouri. I think you get along in Missouri personally. Just find a small town that you can make things work in.
Mhm.
I would recommend Poplar Bluff. They have a game shop there. They have a couple used
I don't know. Did
bookstores.
you see that one Bruce showed off in Texas?
The problem, I don't have anything against Texas per se.
Hmm.
It's Texas. I just
That says a lot, man. That says a lot. I'm for the most part a city boy who just happens to know a crap ton about wilderness survival and outdoorsy stuff. Even though I'd rather sit at home most of the time, but I'm old. Uh, I
I
there's
don't
so
know.
much so because there was a time I would agreed with you 100%. Okay, it's Texas, man. I don't want to go to Texas. And then I went
That's
to
what I
Texas.
do there. That's kind of my. It's like,
That's kind of the point for me now that I'm an old gray-haired fart.
yeah.
I can go. I can find a place where when I do go out, everybody kind of gels along the same lines, and all those lines are minding their own damn business. And
That helps.
and of course there's the weather, but the food's good. The laws are more to what I would make if I made laws, but that's never going to happen. And I get to wear a gun.
Man, I tell you, I had that nightmare. I will continue to say it was a nightmare that somehow because I voted for myself in this past election, I became president. It was a shit show.
Yeah, it's not
I,
a job I'd want. Although
I
someone told me, and I was even thinking about it at the time. They're saying I should run for office out here where I live, and I'm like, yeah, just because I got long hair doesn't mean I agree with what you're thinking. Um, you know,
well,
I call it for right now. I call it California camouflage.
yeah, I get that. I really do. I don't know. Me and politics, I understand politics. I will have those conversations with Bruce normally off camera
Mhm.
because the world doesn't really need to know my politics for the most part. Unless I'm running for office, it's really nobody's business.
Yeah.
Um, and that's not a slam towards Bruce or you or anybody else. It's just some things I've always been told should be private.
Well, that's
And
why they had that expression. Things you don't talk about at the dinner table. Um,
religion, money, and politics, sometimes sex.
and no, and there's a new one. There's a new one. Your favorite band.
See, I don't have a favorite band. I just like music. I like music for music. I don't know. I'm a weird guy. I hang out with people of more of your I get along with people of more of your generation. And Bruce is like anything 10 years older than what I am, I get along with fine. Anybody that's my age, I just want to strangle. I
I was like that. I was like that growing up. My son's like that. It comes with you say you've got a learning disability. One thing you didn't have a learning disability toward is actually figuring stuff out. In the real stuff that matters. Maybe that's wisdom, but
yeah.
you clearly you may be rough around the edges. I am too, but you got everything going on in the inside where I'm not going to say where it should be because that's who knows, you could be all kinds of weird on the inside, and I'd be like, what the hell? But I don't think so. I'm a pretty good judge of character. You've really got you know uh, your head on straight, let's put it that way.
I
Um,
try. I have a daughter, therefore I have to keep it on someone on the
that's
street.
all it takes, man. That's all it takes. I was a very different person before I had my son, and overnight or in a blink of an eye, however you want to look at it, everything changes. I mean, everything. And unless you're a sack of shit and you don't care, and you're going to be, the next day you're going to be out the door looking, going to the store for a pack of smokes and not coming back. Um, it changes everything, and hopefully, some of those changes will be bringing her into your hobby more and more until she's at the table with her friends and you're DMing for a whole bunch of younger kids so that you can help them screw their heads on straight because before I started playing D&D, my grades were shit. I didn't care. I absolutely hated every second of school. I started playing D&D and I started needing to learn things that I never thought I would learn and wanting to learn more, wanting to learn all kinds of things because they would all help out in D&D.
Oh
My
yeah.
my math today is still pretty shitty. Okay. Uh, but
I
but
want to. I want to find that teacher who told me that you will not walk around in your adult life with a calculator in your picture. That bitch was wrong.
yes, she was. But then I started playing D&D, and I needed to be able to figure out, classic example, the Wall of Stone spell in the old AD&D book, or the Wall of Force, or the Wall of Iron. You had to figure out how many feet you could make by level. And I'm like, huh? I was, I don't even think I was 14 and I had to figure it out. I had to learn and realize that, oh, hey, I might want to actually pay a little more attention in math class from now on, because this stuff's going to actually come in handy.
We're going to have to take a momentary break here for a second. I'll get a hold of you here in a minute. I have to take this phone call. I'm sorry.
Just do the intermission thing. So I guess it's just you and me, folks. I'm taking over the Cigar DM show, and let's see, what should we talk about? Hope you guys have been having a great weekend. Little guy and I didn't get to spend as much time together as I would have liked, because first I was on Max's show, Legion of Myth. Thanks again for having me on. I always learn so much with your show. That was a good. I was there for about 8 hours, I think. Yeah, probably, maybe a little more, with the long goodbyes and all that. But I had to get up the next day for Bruce's game, and that afforded me a mighty 6 hours of sleep, and then I was back on YouTube again with Bruce and all the gang, having it was a really good game. You know, a completely different style of play than I was used to, and a different uh, group of guys than I'm normally used to. I'm not going to describe my old players, because some of them might be watching, and some of them are no longer with us, and I'm just going to say that it was one of the more memorable in you know in my life. Not just since I was a kid, but I've played a lot of games, and I'm even including, excuse me, the games as a dungeon master. That was just it was really interesting and a lot of fun. And I actually want to thank everybody out there who's been subscribing to the channel and watching us and giving us encouragement, because if it wasn't for a lot of you new guys that have welcomed my son and I to the community. I hate that word just as much as the next guy, because it's just got this weird connotation to it these days. But I don't even know if you guys are listening out there. If this is still recording, it looks like it is. I'm going to say it still is. But I want to thank all you guys that have welcomed us into your worlds and your lives, and your live streams and your shows, and your hearts and prayers, because there's a lot of people out there that have been really nice to us for all kinds of behind the scene things, not just YouTube and TV land. You guys have really been just just a breath of fresh air, and a lot of new life into an old gamer, because I could have seen myself just slowly getting out of the hobby and focusing on other things, let's say, instead of you know my first love, which is gaming. you know uh, I was gaming really early. I want to say about 12 years old, and there's only been a few periods of my life that I wasn't gaming after that. And you know, this just reinvigorated my entire love for this hobby. All you great people out there. I'm not going to go and name all of you guys, because there's just too many. Well, maybe, who knows, if Connell doesn't get his ass back here, I'm going to have to write down a list of names and thank each and every one of you, so that it's held over for posterity. And the internet is forever, let's hope. And all you guys have been just absolutely great. And I one of these days I'll find a way to thank you, probably by killing off one of your characters in one of my games, when you finally you know wrench up the courage to say, okay, fine, I'll play some AD&D. Especially you, Max, because you've never played AD&D. You played second edition, and that was the watered down version, that had no well, it wasn't that bad. I'm not gonna lie, or exaggerate all that much, because I used a ton of AD&D second edition stuff. But the game Dungeons and Dragons really didn't come into its own until AD&D. Everything that everybody out there loves about whatever other game, you owe it all to AD&D, unless you're talking about the basic and the white box set, those old versions that were so completely immature in complexity. Not saying that you're immature if you play it, because that's hardly the case. It was the bare bones, absolute minimum version of a codified role playing game. And I know, Shauner, if you're ever watching this, you're going to be like, D&D is not a role playing game. But Shauner, that's where the word and the term role playing came from, is Dungeons and Dragons. So then how can it not be the very bare bones minimum of a role playing game? Um, but yeah, it's a role playing game. Now, maybe people don't do it as good as they could or should, or you would like, or I would like. That doesn't mean it's still not a role playing game, because, in my opinion, almost every game that's ever existed, other than like tic tac toe, hangman, and checkers, they're all role playing games, because secretly or deep down in your mind or your heart, you're pretending to be somebody or something that you're not, and that is at that moment the winner. You're hoping to be the winner. You're hoping to, you know, win that game, whatever it is, and you're pretending often to be somebody else, like Monopoly. If you're playing Monopoly, you're pretending to be the guy with the top hat and the monocle. You can deny it all you want, but I know deep down in your hearts, you're that guy with the top hat and the monocle. So it's a role playing game. They're all role playing games. Cops and robbers, cowboys and Indians, um, pool, billiards, poker. They're all role playing games, because you're pretending to be something you're not until you are, and that's the winner. So now my mutt is trying to sneak into, because he knows I'm in a show. So let's come on, come on, come on, you ugly dog. You are an ugly sweet dog, but you're ugly. I'm not gonna lie, because they're gonna see you and they're gonna go, that's an ugly dog. He's an ugly dog. Can you see? Can you see this ugly face? He's a sweetheart. He absolutely is. But he is a jealous little girl. Yes, he is. Say hi. Say hi. No? Okay. But that's my dog. This is my favorite dog in the whole wide world. I don't care how cool your dog is. This one's fine. And he knows it. I saved his life, and he owes me, and I'm only keeping him around so he can pay me back. Right? He pays me back every day, because he is a wonderful, wonderful, sweet, intelligent creature that only wants one thing in life. And what's that? Food? Okay, two things: food and attention. Now he's leaving, because he knows I'm talking to him like he's 3 years old, and he's an old man. He's a really old man. He's going on 12 years old, I want to say. And I rescued him from some people who were about to take him to doggy jail. And you know what happens at doggy jail? Dogs check in, but they don't check out. And I said, give me a week, I'll come back and uh, get a dog, them dog box carrier things. And at the time, I was taking the bus, an 8 hour bus trip every month to go visit my friends to play D&D. Actually, was really technically Palladium, Heroes Unlimited, with every other thing thrown in it you can imagine. And I went and I put him in the carrier and took him on. I want to say like one, two, three, four or five buses and a train to get him home. And he was stuck in that little box for almost 8 hours. And we bonded over ice chips for water, and um, I bought him a couple of hamburgers, and I slowly fed him those hamburgers on the way up to where I live. And when we got home, you should have seen the look on my kid's face. My son was just absolutely almost in tears. He was only, I think, 3 years old at the time, and he was just overjoyed. And of course, the monster mutt over there uh, is, he's a member of the family. I don't know how else to put it. He's one of us. And you hear him? He's like, and by the way, if you don't know what that means, if a dog ever goes, that means he's basically in disagreement with whatever you just said. Yeah, I've learned dog. I can't speak it, but I know what he's saying. That's what they mean. All dogs, they all do it. They go when they're like frustrated or pissed off or in complete disagreement with whatever you say. And that's your first and only tip you're going to get from the Shadow and Sun dog training episode, because I'm just sitting here babbling to myself because Kyle is on a extended vacation. He'll be back next week. So until then, I'll be your host. No, I'm kidding. He's on a phone call, folks. If you just joined us, and I really hope he didn't just leave me hanging here, and I'm just talking to nobody, because this, you know, valuable time. Come on, I'm on the clock, guys. No, I'm kidding. Um, it's just I was hoping to get to talk to him for a little while longer, because if he doesn't hurry back up, then I'm gonna have to tell him, hey man, I, I gotta go film my own show. It's getting to that time. It's a school night. Little guy's gotta get up early in the morning. The two of us to ride our bikes to school, and I want him up fresh, bright and squirrely in the morning, and we've got to do our Sunday show off show. By the way, if you haven't, make sure you subscribe to the Cigar DM, because he's a great guy. And anytime I can help this guy out, I'm going to be there for him. Just like Bax and Bruce and Kai Marion. If he was having a show right now, I'd be there. I'd be there for him. And of course, Biggest Geek is, and all the other guys out there that I've met. Thanks to all of you guys. If you guys ever need something, you want to have me on your show, or vice versa, because we're eventually going to do the same thing when I figure it out how to do live streams. Then the little guy and I will be doing live streams with you, um, as guests, and I because I really want to meet each and every one of you. I'd love to be able to do it in person, but maybe at one of the cons, maybe next year, not this year, because we still got to finish out the school year and then vacation, and we missed all the upcoming cons that we could have signed up for, or probably booked, and traveling right now is still a little risky for the family. There's some people in my family who just don't want to take that chance with the Rona out there, still lurking and doing its Jaws impression. Um, and I hope none of you guys really got beat up over the plague. Our family was incredibly lucky and blessed to not have suffered any lasting effects from this monstrous plague that hit us all right 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 between the legs, right where it hurts the most, because it was insidious, evil, and just absolutely the most unfair illness that has come across this great land of ours. Wherever you live, you're included. Oh man, yes, I am painting over here, extreme close up. Us, the Shadow and Sun Show, we never finish our projects early. We always have some last minute brush ups to get our projects just done right. I probably should have been doing a little more painting than I was while I was talking to Connell, but it kind of almost seems rude. He invited me on and I'm sitting here painting. But I'm going to take this opportunity to do a little bit of painting. Well, no one's watching, because I don't know if there are any views. Are there anybody? Is there anybody out there? Comment section. Oh my God, there are people here. Oh my God, I feel like an absolute doofus with a top hat and monocle. Spiffy Brit. Oh my God. Baron G's in the house. Apparently, Connell's here. I don't know how that's possible, but hey, Baron, what's happening? I tried watching your show yesterday after Bruce's, and it looks like you've got an interesting bunch of youngsters in your uh, live stream. I hope they all had a wonderful time. I hope they really love the game as much as all of us, and that you treat them right and you don't kill them off in their first, experiences, because that just sucks. that just sucks. Fortunately, actually, unfortunately, my very first character died in the very first game, but that did not stop me from coming back. And I hope you're kind to your newbie players, unless they're not newbies and they just look like newbies. Um, but they look like they were having a good time, and that's all that matters. I know, Shauner, it's not all that matters, but yes, yes, it is. If you're not having fun and you're playing a game, you're playing the wrong game. Um, I tried to kill them; they were just better. Oh, come on, you're come on. The first rule of being a dungeon master is you am their Lord, our God. You can kill them. You can drop an anvil on them anytime you want. You were playing fair. You were being a good guy, and that's one of the reasons why we love you. Hey, I can't wait. I can't.
I am so sorry. So sorry. My daughter is wanting my attention, and it was over
No,
something.
no, no, no. I got you back. No, I'm kidding. I hope you'll go back and watch, because I was being a goofball. And, I don't know for what you left me hanging there for, like, what, 45 minutes, and I didn't
I
even know
didn't mean
people.
to. I didn't mean to. I just.
No, 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 it was fun. It was fun. I was just being silly, and I noticed that Baron's out there watching us, and that's fantastic. And he'll be a witness. But I hope you'll go back and find this section and laugh, because I was,
I
I
sure
wasn't
I.
going to sit here and twiddle my thumbs. Nobody
Oh
wants to
no, I
see.
saw you talk.
Okay, because you see the part where I did the striptease.
No, but hopefully that'll give me some views.
I, it won't, because it never happened. It's never gonna happen unless you get a lot of alcohol in me. And as you probably already know, I do not drink. Um, but yeah, that was pretty funny.
Once again, I'm so sorry. My daughter
Don't,
called.
don't sweat it, man. You know, the super mutt made a guest appearance, and
I
you know,
saw. I saw the pooch.
and rewind it later and watch it, and then you can give me shit for it later. Um,
um.
that was funny, because I had to do something, entertain
One viewer.
your fan base. Nah, don't even, man. You'd be amazed how many people will come back and watch this. Um, we got blown away. We had this video. See, normally we every Tuesday, the first Tuesday of the month, we do this announcement video, and as soon as we started doing it, it was our worst video. Numerically, whatever the numbers, if you give a shit about them or not. We would get the least views, the least thumbs up. This last first Tuesday of April, we had over 680 views.
Wow.
Exactly. It's like one of our most watched videos in the history of the show. Okay. And all we do is tell people what we're gonna do later. Okay. And what craft materials, what garbage you dig out of your trash to make crafts out of. This is what we're gonna use. So maybe find some of this junk, and what we're gonna paint this month. And it just it's really, I'm surprised, we haven't, heard negative comments like, why are you doing this? Nobody cares. But apparently 600, and maybe it was 40 or 60 or 80 mad lads and ladies out there came in and watched it. And I'm like, what the heck? But, I know it's because
Right.
you guys. It's because of you and Max and Baron and Bruce and Biggest Geekus and all the guys out there that have really made this absolutely um, just an incredible experience. And the same thing's going to happen to you. You're just starting out there, and I cannot wait to see how big you explode, because you're gonna. Just look at Baron. He's blowing up the internet. Just being a viral maniac out there, trying to kill off these newbie players. Um,
Yeah. No.
Same shit's gonna happen to you, man. The same shit's gonna happen to you. Find your little niche. Find what you're best at. And stick with it. Do what you love, and enjoy the hell out of it. Because someday, I'm not going to be around. You're not going to be around, but our little ones are going to be around, and the internet hopefully will still be around. They'll be able to come back here and look at these episodes and miss us like crazy and start crying and then
Oh yeah, yeah.
we'll have left something behind. I believe it's the Japanese who say if you plant a tree, write a book, and have a child, you're immortal.
Hmm.
Well, this is the modern day version of a book.
Yeah, it
A
really
lot of
is.
us who really don't have the time or patience or skill, we can sit here and do this. And this is a book. It's if they knew about it when they made that expression, they would have said, "Oh yeah, and have your own internet channel." Um,
I
and people not understood what they're talking about, but um,
the Japanese culture has always amazed me. It really has. They
me
were
too.
always
Me too. As a matter of fact, next month we're doing not just Japanese. We're doing the Arabian Nights,
yeah, yeah. I'm actually excited about that one because
and,
I
and
was
we're going to throw in some Oriental adventures, Chinese and Japanese mythology. The Oriental Adventures book, the books that they did for Al Qadim and things like that. And we just watched one of the Sinbad movies last night. You ever seen those?
I want to say unfortunately yes, but they really are good. They you have to be you have to know what you're getting into, especially with today's cinema technology. Back when I was a kid watching King Kong versus Godzilla, where people in great big suits were as amazing now, But no, the claymation that they have, and there was a Sinbad one. I don't remember it completely because I was a kid, but they were after. I don't want to say a lamp. There was harpies, skeleton.
That could have been Aladdin.
It could have been. I don't know.
There was a really there is a really fantastic Aladdin. I forget if I don't think it's just called Aladdin, but there is an incredible Aladdin and the genie movie from way back in the day that was absolutely gorgeous. And I don't know if you know this, but who's your favorite doctor?
Baker.
Tom Baker was in one of those Sinbad movies as the bad guy.
You know what that man did before he became an actor?
I have no idea.
He was a monk, like Ame Anyanome monk.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Wow. I would have never guessed that in a million freaking years.
I Baker. I mean, I jokingly said when I was a little bit younger, I have a beard. I need to take better care of it, but I do have a beard. I had long hair. I had hair that came down to my shoulders. I like it short these days, but it came down all the way down to my shoulders, and I smoked cigars, and I kind of looked at myself. I was like, the only difference between you and God, what was the author's name?
Hemingway?
Which one? Hemingway. Hemingway got paid to talk shit. People just look at you and laugh. I'm like, I know. As I'm saying this to myself in the mirror.
You know what? You're still young, and you keep it up. And that's all that matters. Just keep doing it, and eventually, you'll find your audience, you'll find your voice, and you'll make a crap ton of new friends along the way. Because this is proof right here.
Right, yeah.
One of these days, man. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to get all of you fuckers in the same place, in the same state, and we're going to what?
It won't be California because I can't see a few of us actually being able to stay in.
No. Even if it's just a weekend thing at a convention or something.
Yeah,
we'll just tear that place up and take over and grab the microphone and kick everybody out. One of these days,
I might have. Well, see, I do other things other than RPG, and I know today's we're supposed to be talking about the day after, but whatever. We're going to be talking about gaming and other things. It became Saturday Night Chill. I just didn't mean it to be this way. Plus, my daughter took 15 minutes of my time. It is what it is. Sorry, Max. I'm kind of taking your taking leaf after your page. I do another sport. I do a sport called Daghir / Belgarth. It is medieval reenactment with camping involved, and it does foam weapons. And I'm not talking about Nerf. I'm talking about
like SCA stuff.
What one?
SCA.
Yeah. SCA, but we use foam weapons instead of the broomsticks that they like to carry around. Because I don't. Oh, I do it because I don't have SCA money. Because SCA money is not cheap.
Yeah, I used to do it. It is not cheap. It is not cheap at all.
Right.
but it's there's nothing going to get you to not want to play a fighter better than SCA.
Oh, I do archery. I do archery in Bell and Dag here. I get to shoot people. I mean, I'm decent at it.
Yeah, but do you get to wear 200 pounds of armor?
I can if I want to.
I can't. I don't even weigh 200
don't want to.
How am I going to carry around 200 pounds? I don't even weigh 200 pounds.
Right.
That's crazy.
I have a picture of me somewhere wearing leather armor and chainmail. And
Chainmail's amazing. That was the name of one of my first bands I was in was Chainmail. That's how amazing this stuff is. Yeah, we sucked. We sucked hard. We were terrible.
I tried out for a band when I was a teenager as a vocal. I can sing somewhat.
I can scream. I can scream and pound on a bass, but not anymore.
My problem was I didn't know anything modern. Most of my stuff was like from middle 90s backwards. I used to sing my daughter, what was that? Fly Me to the Moon by Frank Sinatra, Ain't Love a Kick in the Head by Dean Martin, A Wonderful World by Louis Armstrong. Music like that, because that's the music that's music that makes me happy. And I'm weird. I think I was born a couple generations too late.
Nope.
I don't know.
Nope. The world needs you right here, right now, and that's why you're here. Same here. I used to think that too, but you watch time travel movies, you know that if you would have changed anything, you would have changed the whole fabric of the time-space continuum, and we wouldn't be having this conversation, and you wouldn't have your daughter, and I'm sure you wouldn't do a damn thing to ever get in the way of that.
There was actually a scientist that came out not that long ago. It was talking about time traveling and saying the whole butterfly effect might not actually be an issue.
Nah, he's full of shit.
That's why I thought it was an interesting read, because I want to know if he was going back in time, because the only way
it's just wishful thinking, man. Yeah, you it's like the Jenga tower of life, man. You pull out one thing and everything else is different.
It's funny you bring up Jenga. I got to play that with my daughter and two other people, and me and the other couple was a woman that I'm romantically interested in, and her daughter. Well, I'm not romantically.
Wait.
I'm not romantically interested in the daughter. I'm romantically interested in the mother. Let's clear that out.
I read 100 different Penthouse forums where that was, in fact. Let's rewind.
Yeah. But we're playing Jenga, and I look at the daughter. I look at my daughter and her daughter. I'm like, "You want to see something cool?" I'm like, I put my hand halfway up there because I know it's still fairly stable, and I flicked one of the pegs out. Just flicked it and caught it, and her daughter is like, I can do that, and she does it. The mom tries it just falls right over, and she looks. I'm like, this is your fault. I'm like, how is it my fault? You're cheating. I just don't know how.
Then it's not cheating. You have to say if you're not cheating, you're not trying.
Trust me, I'm Irish. We know all about cheating. Anyways,
I got a bit of Irish in me too. I'm not sure how much.
Irish Romanian. So that's why I don't get involved with conversations evolving in the UK right now, because I got family over there, and every time it starts, it's always something I'm almost wanting to punch somebody. So I try to keep politics, once again, my politics away from.
Don't worry, man. The truth will come out, and we'll all know what's really going on. It'll probably just be when we're old and gray and have forgotten about what we were talking about right now. So
I just want to know, did Kennedy shoot first? That's bad joke.
That's awesome, dude. I haven't heard that one before.
It's from an Adam Sandler movie, and it was really weird. And one of the guys like, I got this proof that not Nixon, JFK shot first. And I'm like, okay, I'm done with this movie. That was it. That's
yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that's.
I don't mind conspiracy movies. I listen to.
Hey, have you ever watched Red Dwarf?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, so you saw the one where you know who shot Kennedy, according to Red Dwarf?
Oh, I know I've seen it, I just don't remember it.
Kennedy shot Kennedy. He shot himself because if he didn't, and he lived through that, he would have turned into the world's biggest douchebag.
He's definitely was on his way. Jesus. Um, Jesus. He did everything that Nixon did. The only difference between the two is he didn't get caught. Well, he didn't live long enough to get caught.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyways, that's politics. I don't mind. I really don't mind. I will talk history politics with anybody. It doesn't matter on what platform
The
I will.
little guys got me outclassed on that one every step of the way. I didn't give a shit about politics until, um,
This start affecting your life.
well, no,
Most people jump in.
but you know, let's just say the first half of my life, I didn't give a rat's ass.
Why would you? I mean, why would anybody? The first half of my life, well, first, I'm 38. So let's say the first quarter of my life, I didn't care. I mean, I have no say who's the president until I'm 18. And even after I'm 18, I barely have it to say who's the president because the EC. The whole situation is just kind of foobarred. And so I just didn't give a shit. But somebody I really, really respected once told me you can't talk shit unless you vote. Using those words, you can't talk shit unless you vote.
Mhm. That's a good one. My favorite's always been, if you don't do politics, politics will do you.
That's fair. That especially local politics, because my local politics is different than your local politics. But I have a feeling we're still getting screwed at the end. I don't know. I talk with my hands. I still feel that.
So
Anyways.
let's finish up with the game.
All right, let's get to the game. So,
It was great, right?
oh yeah, Bruce's game was amazing. I will always, if he has a place for me at his table, I will always make sure I am there, even if it's via the interwebs.
Mm-hmm.
I think good DMs are hard to come by these days because even DMs have their own agendas.
I suppose.
Maybe not so much in your day, but I've been to a few tables where I didn't
Oh
play,
no,
but I
maybe even more so
watched.
in my day. I mean, you know, there were a lot of things on the line for a lot of dungeon masters back in the day. You know, interpersonal relationships. You know, um, and you know other things. You know, it especially some of the game shops. You know, they you know were getting paid, and you know if nobody came to your table, then they didn't get paid.
Yeah,
And
yeah, that was me recently, about 4 years ago.
and I
No,
was getting paid. I was getting paid early on, and there were a lot of dungeon masters sitting around just you know shooting me with their laser beam eyes, all ticked off because you know their hippie asses couldn't get anybody at the table, and I could, but you know I owned a shower, so um, and you know
yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't look scary. I was a 14-year-old, you know, semi-athletic kid, you know, who didn't look like your typical, you know, nerdy sort of, you know, 80s
Oh,
kid.
right. I will jokingly say I was a nerd or I was a geek trapped in a jock's body between swimming, boxing, rugby, dancing, and whatever else active tennis, golf. I hate golf. Yeah. But tennis, whatever else I was, not forced to do, but was instructed, voluntold to do. I was
Mhm.
fairly athletic as a kid. And I wish somebody would have told those who Vaughn told me to go do this. Like he needs to be more comfortable with his hands and his knees because my knees blew out and I broke my hand boxing, and that was the end of my boxing career.
Sorry to hear that, man.
Eh, I'm not. Everything has its time, but gaming wise, it's game shops. I love a good game shop. I really do because if you're at a good game shop and the DM's on point, it's a neutral environment. It is pure a neutral environment. I'm not saying I wouldn't come to your house to play, or you would not well, I wouldn't have anybody here to play. What? It's too small. I wouldn't do it at my place.
Yeah,
But
I used to game with a guy that because it was his place, he had to always win.
oh, I hate that. Or if you're gaming somebody's house who has a younger brother, his parents would make the DM have his younger brother be in the game, and it was oh, I've dealt with that. I'll never
Yeah,
again.
well, I mean, if the guy could play, cool.
Nope.
But if he can't, and he
Now, I'm not completely faultless. There was this guy I know named Alex who had an older sister by a year, and she was pretty, and she would game, and I had absolutely no interest in being friends with Alex, but his sister was cute. So I became friends with him, and to play Dungeons and Dragons. Well, yeah, 3.5 with him, and yeah. So
you didn't marry her, did you?
What?
You didn't marry her, did you?
No. Should have, but didn't. No.
Just fucking with you.
Been married once.
Can you imagine though? That would be a great story.
Oh yeah. No. God, when we're off camera, I have to tell you about my situation I am in now. God, I'm an idiot. But no, Bruce's game is good. Bruce runs a really good game. I'm sure Baron, after watching his session 1 campaign last night with Pathfinder, his game will come out to be really good. Jade runs an amazing game himself. Jade is really cool when it comes to DMing. He's fair. All of them are fair, and all of them are fair. I can't imagine Max. I don't know. I don't know what he'd be like as a DM. I don't know if I could play at his table. Nothing against him. Is just I don't know if I could handle. I'm a dirt eater that has to go take on a dragon. That makes no sense to me.
No. Max just I know he's just he loves the games just as much as any of us.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes he seems pretty hard ass, but I guarantee you, if he was a player in the same game as you or I, he'd be a stand-up guy.
Oh yeah. I have no doubt in my mind. There's aspects of the way he says he runs. I couldn't deal with it. My character does not need to be rich by any stretch of the imagination, but he needs funds. The knights, historically knights.
Here's the thing. I don't know what game. I'm assuming he'd want to run Earth Dawn. Okay.
Right.
That's his jam. Or
Yeah.
at least it seems like in a lot of cases it is. That's cool. I don't know the first thing about it other than tons of magic. You know what I'd run? There's the ultimate character that this is a secret just between you and me and like the millions of YouTuber viewers out there.
Really just one right now, but hopefully more later.
Yeah. There's a reason why I have and will always want to play the barbarian. They need nothing. Period. They need nothing.
The most they'll ever need is a new sword every so often.
They don't even need that. All they need is a goal, and that goal should be either one of, I think, 3 things. That's more booze, more fighting, and more pussy.
That's fair.
That's all you need. That's all. And that's going to be the only kind of character I run until besides my paladin, of course, who's not the exact opposite, but pretty damn close.
My problem with Barbarian, at least in 3.5, and I think even Pathfinder goes this way, was Barbarians are illiterate. They don't know how to read. And I'm like, that's not cool. I don't buy that. Just because they have a rage issue doesn't mean they don't know how to read.
Yeah, okay, that's why I didn't run a barbarian in this game, besides the fact that I wanted to run a paladin. The rage and berserker thing, apparently all barbarians are Wolverine in Pathfinder.
And 3.5.
Because in the old original AD&D Honors of the Canon. I don't remember reading anything about rage, but I could be wrong. But um, it's no one has ever been like that and been able to survive longer than about a year of being that kind of a being where every little thing ticked them off to the point where they started beating the crap out of everybody.
Well,
Um,
especially in modern day, you end up in prison.
no, I mean in any point in history, you always have to have that 99.9% of your life where you're more or less calmed down. And
Yeah,
it's just it's almost a ridiculous cartoonish stereotype of what they think a barbarian is, because you can run a barbarian without running the barbarian profession.
right.
You just it's in here. Okay,
Yeah.
so they say you can't read. Well, you pick a fighter and you pick the skills you want and focus on a crap ton of survival, wilderness survival skills, and boom, you're Conan, and the DM doesn't even realize it.
With Conan, I think you have to play, as Max would put it, the Lego character, because you need a couple levels in Rogue to be stealthy. You need a couple levels in Fighter to know actually how to think. Then, mechanically, when it comes to fighting, then you have to have the recipe in Barbarian. Which
I,
that's
I think
how I build Conan.
I here's the thing though uh, um, with the stealthy stuff. I think you could get away without actually needing to plug in the thief professions or something like that, unless you wanted to, because Conan throughout his history was in fact a thief. But I'm pretty sure he never disarmed a trap or picked a lock,
No, no, he always had somebody else to do that, but
or he just climbed in through a window.
right, he climbed through, yeah. He had his variation of evasion where something's about ready to go off and he wasn't there when it went off. So that, he had good decks. He had decent decks. And not all, there's this concept that people think if you're a rogue, naturally you're a cut purse and, Air Flynn meets a cat burglar. And I don't see all rogues being that way, at least not in my head. It's like barbarians and fighters, not all fighters are a guy with a sword and a shield holding up front line. Sometimes they're archers, sometimes they're,
Mm-hmm. And from the looks of it, Pathfinder would probably be flexible enough to where you could make up quite a few you know thousand different interesting characters that aren't the usual cookie cutter sort of variety.
right.
That's one thing I am enjoying about Pathfinder is that uh, with the paladin I could already see a lot of different variations, even though I'm going straight paladin all the way as far as I can, and not branching off, not doing anything other than that, unless I do something really stupid and suddenly I'm not a paladin at all. But with all the professions, the game seems a lot more versatile. That's one of the things I liked about Palladium is you could do the same thing.
Yeah.
Depending on the skills you pick, you want to make something different, then have at do it. Don't just
I wouldn't know word one when it comes to Palladium because I've looked through the books. I have a buddy down in Nashville, Jason. That's where he started his RPG, and he had Ninja Turtles, he had Heroes, and all that. And I'm like, I don't, whenever somebody says Ninja Turtles, I'm always on board because that was my thing as a kid. That Ninja Turtles, He-Man, GI Joe, Power Rangers to a certain degree, but that was like a little bit, 10, 11 age. But, those were the things. And so it always made me excited. I never got to play, but I always just thumbed through the book. I'm like, okay, this does this.
It's a really good system. It's a really good system, especially if you want to do the sort of sliders thing where you go to different worlds.
Yeah.
Whether it be like a science fiction, you're using a spaceship to get there, or if you're using magical portals or whatever, or if you just want a lot of different games, but only want to learn one set of rules. It's really good for that, and there's only been two big companies that ever tried to do that I'm familiar with, that being GURPS and Palladium, and I'm going to say Palladium did it better.
That's probably fair. Um,
I've got close to 50 different Palladium books, from Turtles to Robotech to, their version of Dungeons and Dragons, to hardcore sci-fi and fantasy, horror, and you can mix and match any game you want to run. Just grab a couple of books, get some ideas, and the characters. You can take
yeah,
one character from any game and just keep on going down through the different adventures and the different styles. It's uh, it's really well done. There are some things, of course, I don't agree with, but I have yet to find an absolute perfect one end all be all game other than the original, or excuse me, second edition, Villains and Vigilantes, and it did what everybody else is still trying to do in 47 pages.
I said this to Jade off camera. Well, technically on camera, but we weren't live when I said this. There's not one system from the very first system to the very last system that everybody's going to agree upon for multiple different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
I like Pathfinder. Pathfinder is really, it's like being in Bruce's campaign. It's like going home. It really is. Because it's a system that I know. I don't mind 5e because I keep all the 5e politics and bullshit out of my game. And the people
shouldn't be too hard to do.
Yeah. And the other two DMs are the same way. That my Monday is 5e night, and we just run the story. That's all we do, is we run the story. When Spelljammer comes out, I never played the original one. I have no dogs in this fight. Realistically, absolutely no dogs in this fight about how Spelljammer was and what Spelljammer is becoming.
Well, to be honest, because I did, and as much as we had fun bagging on it, what we were, I think all of us, other than the people who just hate the concept,
right?
We were bagging on, the company, and their decisions, but for the most part, it's just a setting with some additional rules for travel,
right,
and maybe combat. And I bet you it's probably one of the closer to the original concepts than any of the other later,
later variations of Spelljammer.
No, not Spelljammer, but of Dungeons and Dragons. Of all the things WotC has done, by taking over past, glories of other people's ideas, and all the stuff that, they bought and then changed. I think that's going to be the one that stays closest to the original conception. I really do.
I have a friend who's been playing. He turned 50. I think he's turning 51 this year, but he's been playing since he was a kid, first edition and on. He loves 5e. He loves the simpleness of it. He can RP his character, but he can RP his character, not worry that he has to do 101 different skills like he had to do in Pathfinder in 3.5.
Mm-hmm. I'd be interested to see, because AD&D was pretty damn simple.
5e is pretty damn. The only problem 5e has is its company it came from.
If it doesn't have feats,
they're optional.
Does it have skills?
The skills are, you have your job and your background, and your class gives you a set amount of skills. You don't have a full page. You might have 3 or 4. Then your background might give you an extra skill. Then what it does is I'm trying to picture the character sheet. It has, it does have some skills, but these skills are only given to you by your class or your background. Then you don't, like with Pathfinder, you know how you have to rank them, keep ranking them up every level. You don't do that. There's a number set. It is your, I can't think of this term, but it's a set number plus whatever you roll. They don't keep going up. You don't keep feeding ranks into them every
right. AD&D, you could feed stuff into them, but for the most part, they were based on a stat, and you had to, roll under, I think, your stat or over your stat for the thing. I'm pretty sure it was under because over would be kind of stupid.
It's it's
But again, you were lucky if you had 6 skills at 15th level.
right. I wish I had a character sheet next. I wish I had one of my character sheets next to me. I do everything online these days because that's the world we live in. It's like athletics. Athletics is climbing, swimming, and if something else. That's your athletic. Athletic is part of your strength. So whatever your modifier your strength is, and if you're proficient in that skill, you get whatever your proficiency number is, which at early levels it's low, and it goes up as you level, but it's not like level 3 and you already have like 6 ranks in it. You might have so let's say it's 2. Let's say your strength is, let's be fair, let's keep it not broken. You have a 16 in strength at first level. Not bad.
Mm-hmm.
Anything above a 10 is awesome. So you got a 15, which is a +2. +2 by your proficiency is another +2, so that's 4. Then if you're getting help from the bard, be an extra D4 for bardic inspiration or whatever. Then you roll your dice. You rolled a 10. So 10 plus 4 is 14. If you have the bardic inspiration, you throw another D4 on there, which might anyway from 18 to 15. And that's what the DC. That's how you determine if you pass the DC or not.
Gotcha.
And there's aspects to 5e I can see where older players will get issues with. I'm not saying it's a perfect system, but for those who are from older, like I want a simpler game. I don't want a character sheet that's 3 pages long and 2 of the pages are feats and skills.
One of these days, I will be able to find a copy and go through it and put my 2 cents in there.
I will defend it because I will defend any new system because a lot of us come into something, and me included, with Pathfinder. I made up my mind in the very beginning. I was not going to like Pathfinder. I was proven wrong. I came into 5e like the rest of the other guys we've talked to. I'm not going to like 5e, and it was never about pronouns. It wasn't about the political values that the shop has. I'm set on what I like. You like what you like. I like what I like. And once again, I was proven wrong. I actually do enjoy 5e. I enjoy hanging out with my friends, playing a simpler game that I really don't have to think about all that much.
Well, the question though, when 6 comes out, are you still? You think you'll still be playing 5th, or do you think you'll give 6 a try? Or
I don't think it'll be 6. I don't know if they'll do a new edition. I heard it's supposed to be 5.5, where the earlier mistakes that they made in the beginning of the book, they're just reconning it to do, what was that, on Earth Kana? I think that's the term you use, where it was a book that they pumped out later on that fixed some of the earlier mistakes.
Oh, Unearthed Arcana. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what this one is. I think it's basically going to be that version of that, where, yes, we were wrong in the very beginning with some of these rules.
But when they do, because they will.
Yeah.
They will eventually make a new version. It might be 10 years from now, but they will.
It's the nature of the creature.
True. But are you going to? You think you'll jump in with both feet, or do you think you'll hang back and do something like me, wait till they put out 7th edition, then grab 6 because it's cheaper, or do you think you'll just stick with 5th?
I think it's foolish. This is nothing personal. This is not personal towards you, Max, or anybody else, but this is my opinion. I think if we continue to like to call ourselves gamers, we will have to a certain degree, not bend with time or accept time, but try to figure out where they're going. Because there might be things in the new edition you might like, and there might be a whole lot of nothing you like, but we don't know until it happens. If, we change as a culture. We changing as a culture a whole lot more rapidly than a whole lot of us are really comfortable with. But as a culture,
Like
we
technology,
change.
it's just gonna get faster and faster, like technology as time progresses. Um, for me, like with video games, I still, like video games. I don't get to play them as much as I like, but um, an old video game for like, pick a console and you didn't get to play that game, but now you find it in the bargain bin for $5. It's still the same good game that it was when it was brand new and $60.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
I have a lot of games that if I never bought another game, unless I live like 500 years, I couldn't play them all. So I'll always have a game to play, and there'll always probably be people interested in playing. And if not, then I'll just play a video game.
I
Um,
I don't know who said it, but there was this quote I learned I heard when I was a kid. The moment we stop learning is the moment we start dying.
mhm.
And I take that to everything. I mean, I showed you the cooking books I bought at a used bookstore, and a couple of them are bullshit cooking books, but there might be recipes in there that I could use.
Mhm, mhm,
5E might be a bullshit system. 6E might be a bullshit system,
mhm,
but there might be aspects in it that I like or
mhm.
I could use. I don't care what the company does. It's like voting for a president. You might have your opinion, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter much because more powerful people than we are, have already made up their minds.
Unfortunately.
And I hate to be that way, but that's just how I see it.
Mhm.
But no, I spell if Spelljammer becomes somewhere between My Little Pony and Rainbow Bright, I'll play it with my daughter because she will enjoy it.
Oh my God, that's funny. Because even back then, it was kind of silly. I'm not gonna lie. Sailing ships in space powered by magic. Compared to, why would they look like sailing ships? They don't need sails. Okay, why wouldn't they just look like rockets
Oh
or
yeah,
fully enclosed, boxes and things like that? Because they don't need the sails. The only reason for the sails is so that maybe if they go to another world, they can land in the water. Okay, cool. That's fair enough. But there's no reason for them to look like an octopus or a squid or an actual fish, and some of them did.
yeah.
Okay,
I've seen
it
pictures.
was
I've seen.
it was um, kind of a product of the times. In TSR's attempt to tone down the satanic, you know,
I,
overtones of the game, they went that direction for a
I am
little
so
while.
glad I missed that. I am so glad I missed that as a person because I've been having fistfights with everybody. The whole satanic panic, I'd be having fistfights with everybody.
Well, the most of the people you would have been having fistfights with would have been other people's parents, and well, let me rephrase that: other people's mothers.
I argue with my own mom. What makes me stop? What makes you going to? What
Well,
I
because
argue with my own mom. What?
right, but I'm pretty sure you're not going to get into a fist fight with your mom's best friend.
No, but I've chewed out my mom's best. I also have a mouthpiece on me. If I'm willing to chew out my own mom, don't think your mom's safe. Kind
Yeah,
of personality.
it was more about the titties than it was about the satanic.
There was
Okay.
a module that came out called the Crystal Palace or the Princess in the Crystal Palace. It was
Mhm,
earlier editions.
mhm,
It was originally an orange covered book, I believe, a module. Then it got turned to blue. This was before my time. I actually just recently heard about this one. And there's this picture where this woman was fully clothed, but she's, her hands are tied up like this, and she looks like she's about ready to get attacked by the whole bar. And a woman, and but it finds out that it's all illusion, and there's really a monster that's in there that's willing to is about ready to eat the party when they go try to save the woman.
mhm.
This went from in this picture alone. set the bookstores, the game stores, parents, everybody on high alert. And it got pulled off the shelves, and later it came back a little bit later with a different writer, and it went from orange to blue because of, as you're saying, satanic panic. And the way I heard the original module sounded really fun. The second attempt that they tried for the Crystal Palace sounded kind of lame.
Yeah, you got to realize that most men, their only complaint with Dungeons and Dragons for their kid is that it kept their kid away from playing sports. That was it. That was They didn't believe the satanic bullshit because they didn't believe in any of the devil worshiping crap to begin with. The women, on the other hand, needed something to blame it on because they didn't want their kids, looking at, hand-drawn,
boobies. Well, even some of the older, I have this site that I'm on Facebook though. It's the old, I liked it because it's old Conan illustrations,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, holy shit, that's really tastefully done, but that's kind of risque.
It was more about that because you got to remember, back then there were only two kinds of moms. The ones that had hit that wall and looked like a sack of potatoes, and the ones that did not.
Yeah,
you can pretty much guess which ones were complaining, and it's still true today.
Yeah,
you will never hear of a incredibly attractive woman complaining about other incredibly attractive women unless they're in direct competition with each other.
Women are weird that way. No offense to women who ever end up watching this one, but women are weird that way. Guys, we just don't do that nonsense. I mean, but over looks of all things. I don't know. It's a personality.
It's psychology, and we don't really have time for it. But it wasn't. I mean, because there were people I knew that were full on, Satan worshiping Dungeons and Dragons players, and I even knew a couple of people who took it way too far and ended up places where you don't get to have regular, visitation.
That's too bad.
Yeah. But then there were people that went on to be incredible human beings and have incredible lives. And, it all starts with your baseline. If you're okay, you'll end up okay. If you're not, you're going to end up really messed up.
There's a whole psychology, nature versus
nurture.
Nurture, yeah. And I think that has a lot to deal with that. I mean, when I was a kid, my aunt was not fond of us using sticks as guns because she thinks guns are violent, which she's not wrong. Guns do equal to violence. Mm-hmm. Then she read somewhere years later, that there was a study that happened where they took kids who've never seen a gun. They're from some part of the country some part of the world has no idea what a gun looks like. Mm-hmm. And they're still going pew, pew, pew with them as if they were guns. So with that being said, the imagination of a child, I think, is basically universal. We always, it's Peter Pan envy is what I call Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder and all these RPGs, because we don't want to grow up. We want to be not so much grow up, but we want to be more than what we are. We want to be the guy who slays the dragon, gets the princess, makes a million gold pieces.
I guarantee you all of the greats out there,
yeah,
all the great human beings had absolutely wonderful imaginations during their youngest of years, or just the opposite, and had to go out and do real shit, which is fine too. But I don't know if you've noticed, but there are a whole lot of great gamers that are also ex-military.
Oh yeah.
And they went out and offered up the most valuable commodity on the planet, and that's their their potential, lifespan, their freedom, their ability to decide what they were going to do at any moment of the day. Instead, gave it up to Uncle Sam or other countries, and still play D&D. They're you know there's no end to mankind's desire for action, adventure,
Oh
romance,
yeah.
or the sense of wonder that just, no matter how far across the planet you go, look at all the millionaires that are still playing D&D. They could buy any damn thing they want, and what are they doing? They're playing D&D because they can't buy some of the things that they really absolutely want, but yet they can get for free through Dungeons and Dragons or other games.
Yeah, you hear stories of that one actor who's been in a few things, has a basement layout that looks like a dungeon, and him and his celebrity friends are playing Dungeons and Dragons or whatever RP. As you said, I don't know if he's a millionaire, but if you're in Hollywood, I imagine you have more zeros behind your name than I do, and going in the right direction at least.
Mm-hmm.
But they're willing to give up a Saturday night once a month or whatever, or sit around the table and roll some dice and have fun. I mean, once you buy the books and the dice, the hobby becomes cheaper. You don't need
it's essentially, a one-time investment, unlike almost every other hobby.
right.
Sure we take it to extremes, and no, it's not a one-time investment. It's a lifetime commitment of purchasing books and games and dice and modules and etc. But you could literally, spend $100, buy a player's book, a DM's book, and some dice. You're done. You're never going to spend another penny because that's the deal you made or whatever. And that's all you need. I guarantee there are probably people out there, and that's all they ever did. They bought their game, they bought their dice, and they're still using the same thing, and they didn't know that anything else ever came out.
Right, and that's fine. That's fine. That works for them. There's, that. But even going back to video games, my
I gotta take a walk, but you'll come with me.
All right. My very first console I actually owned was the original Nintendo. Then a couple years later, it came out the Super Nintendo, then, Nintendo 64, then Sega, then PlayStation, then Xbox, and so forth and so on.
Do you have a Dreamcast?
Yeah, I had a Dreamcast. That's just
Sega Saturn?
Which one?
Sega Saturn.
No, I didn't have that one. Dreamcast, though, was beyond its time. It just came out. If it would have came out 5 years later, it would have been amazing. Because it was the only console when it came out that had internet connection.
Didn't the Dreamcast have that too?
That's what I'm talking about, the Dreamcast.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, the Dreamcast was absolutely amazing. My favorite game on there was Crazy Taxis. But... But D&D, Pathfinder, and RPG is the same way. If you think about it, a book comes out, edition comes out, and you play it for a couple years. Then the next system comes out, sort of like your consoles or your computers or whatever else you're willing to spend money on. I mean, I think the only thing that really stays the same over the last couple hundred years are books. Books are books. You either get hardcover.
Soft tone the gold. Sorry, I had to tell the little guy what to do.
No, that's fine. Yeah, it's the only thing. Now, books, in my opinion, books are one of the few things that haven't changed over the last 100 years. It's the printed word, just how we use it, how we produce the written word has changed, but books are books.
One of my biggest hobbies is still reading. I just started reading believe it or not, a classic illustrated, which is code for kids book on King Arthur.
I can't say anything.
The artwork is fantastic because you heard me a while ago. If it's black and white art, I'm a fan, and it's the only book I could find at my local thrift store that would happen to be King Arthur. And I got this actually before I decided to start playing a paladin, and now I'm playing a paladin, so I'm gonna read King Arthur, and now I'm gonna have a cigarette.
I'm out of stogies. I I gotta find a way to get a sponsor.
You know what? You know what you do? You email every single cigar company, period, even if you
Yeah,
don't like them, and tell them what you do, and tell them I sent you because I know them all, and they'll be paying you stuff for free. No, I'm kidding. Just go out there and email them and tell them, hey, um, uh, I wanna, you know, I want to smoke your cigars on YouTube while I'm doing what I do. Are you guys gonna have a problem with it? Don't say I want to sponsor. Don't ask them for anything free. Just say, are you guys gonna be okay with that because I love your cigars? And
probably
then if
start with
uh,
Gurkha and work my way down.
that liar, and you're just going out there telling everybody because you think this will get you sponsorship. I won't say that about a product I don't have already love, but I will ask them if they have a problem with it, and usually, they won't. I mean, if they do, then
Oh, it's free advertisement. For the most part, it's free advertisement for them. Unless you go completely against the grain of what their image is, I can't see a lot of them having a problem.
right. But let them know that you've got your own channel, but you're also going to smoke your cigars on other people's channels, and you're the cigar DM, and if you know eventually they'll either they'll help you out, and they will be a sponsor, or you'll find out you don't like their cigars to begin with. You know, I would personally try them, and then if you like them, go, hey, I just tried your cigars, because I'm trying different cigars, and tell them you like them and that you're going to be smoking them, and tell them when, and you know,
Right. But you have to do that. I
that,
just
that's your thing, there's not going to be no one else is going to come down the pipe with your handle. You know what I mean? It's not going to happen.
yeah, I seriously doubt it. I mean, I'm lucky enough to
I mean, I'm surprised there aren't a bunch of other kinds of smokers out there, capitalizing on that, as their part of their handle or their gimmick or their trademark, what have you, when they online stream or play or make videos. Um, I'm really surprised there isn't, some hookah DM out there, the boneyard DM, whatever. Um, I'm sure it's just a matter of time. Someone's going to, watch this video and go, oh, I'm that guy,
yeah, I was told when I first got into this I have to come up with a handle, and Connell's not even my real name, but that's what a lot of people know me as because of the sport I'm in is Connell. I've almost accidentally signed a few legal papers using that name, which was like, oh shit, I can turn the C into this letter, and we'll make it work.
don't sweat it, man. A lot of people out there don't want to give up their real name, and that's fair, especially when you have kids, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
so
No, this
you know,
everything I do in the future with this, I have to keep my daughter in mind because I need to have a decent wall of protection around my daughter. Because I could go say the Cubs suck, and some weird Cub fanatic takes issue with this. But yeah, no, everything I do is for my daughter these days. Everything else is just everything else.
that's it was his idea that we made this channel, and that was almost 2 years ago. He was way ahead of the YouTube. He's already had channels and shut them down, and he makes videos for other stuff and has other projects. But one of these days, you will be able to bring your little one on, and maybe be part of the show, maybe be a guest. There's a guy out there. I don't know. You probably don't know him. Rob's Tabletop World.
I've heard of them.
He's a pretty decent
Um, and in the beginning, I think he had his son on, and then his son went off and did life stuff, and now his son's come back, and they're doing more stuff together, and I couldn't be happy for him. I know exactly what it feels like because I'm about to hit that point where little guy's going to go off to, hopefully, his own life. That it'll probably start with the military, and that'll be 2, 4, 6, 8, 12 years of him doing that. And I'm not going to change the channel name. And then someday he'll be coming back and for guest appearances or what have you. And maybe someday he'll take over the show and it'll be a different shadow and a different son, but still part of the same family.
No, that makes sense. That does make sense.
Because I don't know if you've noticed, but my channel is doing pretty good. I mean, for what it is, I'm nowhere near the mighty Baron. He's just kicking ass and taking names like a madman. And I wish him all the best because I watch probably 50 different YouTube Dungeons and Dragons related channels, and I'm gonna add more. I'm gonna keep watching more. Eventually, I won't have enough time in the day to keep up with all these fantastic creators out there, and hopefully I'll meet some new people, and we'll learn from each other. We'll maybe get to games with each other, and the sky's the limit for all of us. I really can't wait to see with you and Jade and Kai and anybody else I'm missing on that list of just starting out guys. I've seen people who started after me and zoomed past me, doing some of the same kind of stuff, and I wish them all the luck in the world. No amount of jealousy. If I can help them out, I will. If they can help me out, I'll give credit where credit is due. And like I said, the sky's the limit for all of us, man.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Unfortunately, I don't know. I'm still new to StreamYard, or I would have posted your guys' YouTube channel out there already.
I live next to a racetrack. It's insane, but I'm going inside now because
So I had a teacher in high school that was a non-professional race car driver. I had for extra credit, he would have us come watch his matches or his races.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. I haven't been to a good race in quite a while. One of these days I'll be able to, but right now,
He's stock cars. Yeah.
Stock cars, funny cars, the whole bit. Oh man, that one's frozen shut. Trying to get a bottle of water and they're all frozen. There we go.
It's the world is changing gaming wise, and no, I don't agree with everything. I don't agree with anybody about I don't agree with anyone over everything. Everybody has their own opinions, and
you shouldn't. You really shouldn't. I mean, that otherwise we'd all be the same, and we wouldn't be able to game because we'd all be wanting to run a paladin.
Right.
Yeah, that's never going to happen. But it's.
I already promised. I had 2 different DMs. If they ran an all paladin campaign, I would give it a go. It'll be a hot mess, but I will give it a go.
Yeah. If Jade runs one, I was just talking to my son about that. Because when I told him about that, we were talking the other day, and he wants to steal my idea of a room with like 7 holy swords for the entire party. Because if he only puts one out at a time, there's going to be some paladin in there who's not.
There's going to be some infighting.
Yeah, you can't do that. I mean, you got to just here you go. Y'all get a holy sword, and maybe they're a little bit different, from one another. But this one's yours, etc. Otherwise, it's just ugly. I can see 6 paladins losing their paladinhood because I deserve the holy sword. No, I do. No, none of you do. Because you didn't just say, no, I'm not ready. I'm not worthy. Because no one's going to say that. No one.
No, what you do is you have your 7 paladins walks into a room like Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, and you must find the right sword, or right cup, as the case may be for the Indiana. And
That'd be a good twist on it.
yeah. Thinking I'm a bastard, so I probably do something like that. Have like 3 out of the 7 swords be cursed with some kind of intelligence that it will slowly turn them evil, or some variation of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not done running paladins. Uh, uh, this one's a lot of fun. I'm loving it. I didn't even think for 1 second of saying, "Hey Bruce, can I make something besides a paladin?" Not a chance. Are you kidding? You know, they're sure maybe the hardest character to play. Maybe not for everybody, but
there's a whole mindset there that is just beyond me. I mean, I understand being a good person. That part's not beyond me. It's just there's just a lot to it that's beyond me, I should say.
you know what? You may surprise yourself. Um, there's a reason why I haven't played a paladin, since I was 14. And it's
Right.
not because I didn't play. Yeah, I did go 30 years without playing, but there was 10 or 12, maybe 15 years of playing, but I didn't choose to play a paladin. I was playing, like I said the other day, elven fighter, magic user, assassins, or something, crazy like that. You know, it just wasn't,
Oh
for
yeah.
whatever it didn't have any real, massive draw for me personally at the time. But someday, you may get to that point. You're like, you know what, paladins are my favorite class because you're
Well,
not done growing, you're not done learning, and whatever shortcomings you think you might have, someday, you're gonna you're gonna want to play everything that you never played before. Someday you're gonna play a monk or a bard or whatever
I've
profession
done monk. Yeah, I've done monk. I've done
whatever it is you hate.
classes.
Someday
Yeah.
you will play those because of the challenge or because something in your life has changed or something in your genetic makeup or your who whatever makes you who you are. you know you'll change, you'll grow, and you'll change your mind. You're allowed to. It's
Oh yeah.
I look forward to seeing the day when we're all playing paladins side by side and righting wrongs and making the world a better place and pushing ourselves in every way possible to challenge ourselves and have one of the best games we've ever had.
When when you get to, I know you're still on Fool's Moon because you have to your work. You have a bunch of reading for your new month of material that you need to cover, and that's Dresden should always be read for pleasure. The moment you start not liking it, that's with any book though. The moment it no longer becomes fun, put the damn book down and walk away. But when you get to a book called was it Death Mask, and the Paladins, the Dresden Files version of his Paladins, and Sonya shows up. I could be Sonya. I just couldn't be Michael Carpenter, or you'll understand when you get there.
Mhm.
Uh,
Looking forward to it. I actually, since I'm actually doing the audiobooks and I'm not technically reading,
yeah.
and this month is actually, I'm not going to say it's a looser month because it may be more challenging than the John Carter month or Edgar Rice Burroughs month. Um, I'm looking forward to it. I actually enjoyed the first book and a half so far, and if I can keep finding them with the same narrator,
There's
then
only one. There's only one. It's called something Ghost Stories, and it has John Glover in
uh,
it because the narrator for the original ones he was busy. He was too busy to make that one work. But it's still a good story. And John, you know who John Glover is, right?
I think so. I think so.
Did you ever watch Smallville back in the early 2000s?
No, I didn't, but I'm familiar enough with it, if you were to mention a character, I might know who you're talking about.
He played Lionel Luthor in Smallville. He played Lex's dad.
Okay, not ringing a bell, but
He was in the Mel Gibson movie Payback.
didn't see that one either.
Son of a bitch. Hold on. He's been in a lot of stuff. I might also. He's an older actor. I mean, I don't know. All the actors I liked as kids now are considered older actors. You know, I got a weird compliment a couple months ago, maybe a month ago. Someone said I sound like John Goodman. I'll take that as a compliment. John
Not
Goodman.
him. Yeah, I know exactly who he is. You know what? I think he actually plays, or at least used to play, like Space Marines.
Oh, I can believe it.
I could be totally wrong about that, but I could have swore I saw him at a convention or something like that. I mean, you know, I like I said, I could be wrong, but I could have swore that was the guy. But
Okay, the actor. Okay, yes. Remember Gremlins 2?
no.
Oh, you're killing me, Haas.
Don't worry. When I get to it and I see his name, I'm still gonna give it a listen because I want to finish the series someday. You know, it's what, like 20 books, and you know,
God, he was in Scrooge with Bill Murray. I don't remember that, but that's
who did he play in Scrooge?
yeah, of course. Yeah. Okay, let me see.
I love that movie.
It is one of my favorite movies. It's just been forever
It's
since I've
definitely one of
seen
my favorite Christmas movies. I won't go so far as favorite movies because I only go to like top 5 when it comes to that. But
Bryce Cumling. That's the guy. Bryce
the
Cumming
name,
was what?
the name doesn't sound familiar, but I know the movie pretty damn well. If you were to tell me the character,
That's the character he played. Bryce. I'm gonna see if I can find it. The Wikipedia.
no, I mean like describe who the character was.
That's what I'm doing.
Because the name is very familiar, and I'm not thinking of Danny Glover.
You sons of bastards. I can't say sons of bitches because every time I do, I have to answer my own question. Yes. That's horrible. He was in RoboCop 2. The fuck was he in RoboCop 2?
I saw RoboCop 1 hundreds of times, but I can't remember anything about RoboCop 2.
Yeah, that's all right. But yeah, John Glover, he is an old school actor. He's been in a lot of movies. I'm looking at The Evil That Men Do in '84.
No, I saw that once, I think.
Gremlins. I already said that. Gremlins 2. Oh, I can't tell you how many times I've seen Gremlins, though. But yeah, he's a really good actor. He has a really wide range of things he could do. Ed and His Dead Mother.
Nope.
He was in Batman and Robin. He's the guy who made Bane in the George Clooney horrible mess of a Batman.
Was he also in Heroes?
He might have been.
Was he the skinny scientist guy?
He was the main bad guy in the first one's father. The guy who messes with clocks. But yeah, he was in Heroes.
He was?
Yeah.
He was Siler's father, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I know exactly who he is. I know exactly who he is.
Well,
Yeah.
eventually we got there. Jesus. Talk about the long way in a few one ways. I am snarky as hell. But yeah, no. That's the only one he reads. That's the only book out of the series that he reads because
The other guy.
Master.
The other guy.
Yeah, it wasn't available.
Okay, that's cool. I actually there's something else he was in that I actually liked him a lot for. That's why I was able to remember who you were talking about and go from the Batman movie to Heroes and I can't
Blacklist.
remember. He was in Blacklist.
Yeah,
Really, I love that show, and I can't remember him from that
the
show.
Berlin episode.
I only saw each one once, and then I
Yeah,
think
yeah. He was in Numbers, and back in 2000, Numbers was a fun show, but it's a whole different. But he's been in a lot of different things over the years. He was the voice of the Riddler back in the '90s Batman animated series.
really,
Yeah,
I actually have a bit of that on DVD somewhere. That's weird. That's cool because then when I get to that book, I'll be able to appreciate it just a little bit more, I guess.
right.
Like I said, one of these days you're gonna have to read some Zelazny, so you'll know why I say they write a lot alike.
Okay, I'll have to get into it.
Um, I'll try to find a book that I think you'll like besides the Amber series, because if you read the first book of Amber, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But then leads you into 9 more books, and I don't know if you're up for that.
I, for the most part, spend most of my day by myself, unless I am lucky enough to talk to you guys. Even when I'm at work, I spend 80% of it by myself. So all I do is listen to books, anyways. I am actually right
Well,
now.
like me, once the little guy's in school, I got the whole day to myself, and I'm retired. So we should do this more often, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I'd love to talk to you on broadcasting or without. I'm just
yeah, you know what? I'll probably shoot you my phone number and the email address if you ever want to just shoot the shit.
yeah.
I'm up for that.
That's
We don't have to,
great.
we know what each other looks like. We're a couple of ugly bastards, and you know, uh, it's a wonder. People haven't just said, "Oh, not this long-haired hippie again."
Oh my God. So I get that. I truly do get that. I have
Who
over
ever
the
called you a
years,
long-haired hippie?
when I was living in Poplar Bluff, I had my hair down to my shoulders, and my biggest issue is I'm like, damn, I have a lot of gray. Because when I was 15, I can't because Cameron's on the opposite side. Okay,
I know it's weird to get that
right
straight.
here. Right here, I had right here, I have the streak of gray hair that went all the way back, and I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. I mean, that kind of gives the whole old-fashioned Doctor Strange vibe. I can dig with that.
Mhm.
Then I grew my hair out, and more of it was gray than it was black. I'm like, nope, going back down to straight, short hair.
Just pull it back in a ponytail and tell them to kiss your ass, man.
Yeah. Now, whenever time I'm thinking about growing my hair out. It's incredibly curly, so it has that momentary puff before it starts laying back. So,
yeah. Unfortunately, I had COVID to before. If you look at I don't know if how short my hair was in the first video. I think it was pretty long, and I was still. But you got to go through that really really horrible haircut phase so you can pull it into the ponytail.
yeah.
But then once you do, you're like, oh my God, I'm a handsome guy.
I think sometime this week I just actually got my hair cut, but I have some extra money that I can actually throw to getting another haircut. And I'm going to have it trimmed down, at least the sides knocked down, just because, I don't know, I never was in the military, but I do prefer that haircut, just short and simple.
Yeah, I had to go many, many, many years getting a regular haircut, as in every 3 weeks. And, COVID came around, and I'm like, well, don't really want to do it myself. And, I guess it's time to go back to the metal days, so.
All right. We're at 2:18. I am so sorry that there was a 15 minutes of me being away. My daughter needed my attention.
Don't be sorry. Just watch it.
I will definitely watch it once we get off of this. I got my dinner.
Yeah, no shit. I was surprised you weren't munching while we were talking, but this was a lot of fun, man. I got to go and film with my son now, and do our Sunday show off show. And like I said, this was great. Make sure if you talk to Bruce before I do, and thank him again. I was thinking about making a video just like this, thanking everybody in the game yesterday, because that was, it was a lot of fun. And I'm incredibly appreciative and can't wait. I told Bruce, the only bad thing about the game is I got to wait another 2 weeks to be back. So
Yeah, I get that. I'm lucky enough where I have a game tomorrow. I don't have a run. Then I have my Tuesday game. Then I have a Wednesday game. Then this weekend I have a Saturday late game.
Just rub it in your bag.
Hey, you're married. You have a happy marriage and the kid. I am not married, and I have a kid, but she's not here.
Yeah, but like I said, I've got 6-8 hours a day where it's just me and the dog, and one of these I'm gonna have to find a way to get some more gaming in, but and maybe I'll just work on my next campaign, because I am actually going to be running a second edition or Palladium game during the summer, where the little guy's going to be in. He's going to be a player. Some friends of mine from all over the globe are going to join in. Maybe you'll be one of them.
That'd be cool. You'll have to be patient with me because I don't know Palladium, but I'm willing to learn.
And it'll probably be, to be honest, it'll probably be first edition AD&D to just keep it real simple. And basically, you would need like a photocopy of a page for your character, and that's all you'll ever need to know. Because it's a pretty simple game.
All right. Well, this is where I'm going to say to the audience that watches this video later, thank you for watching, taking time out of your day and watching me and this great guy over here talk. And I will see you guys, the YouTube. I will see you guys, if not Wednesday, definitely on Thursday. And who knows, me and Shadow might make this a weekly thing. Two old bastards talking about how things could be, should be, and probably aren't going to be. With that being said, any words of wisdom?
Just have a great game, a great week, everybody. Enjoy whatever game you're playing, and just get the most out of life you can, and when you can't, get the most out of your game. And
this is the Cigar DM telling you, children, to roll your dice in the dark and fill out your character sheets in the dark. That works too. Good night.
Bye, everybody.